And then we came towards the end of the festive season. Prior to that, Wizkid was supposed to fill the stadium, he couldn't. But Wizkid is a big artist. I mean, he's a top international artist. He's able to call, of course, Shatta will call Beyonce at any time, if it's possible. Yeah, but Wizkid does that. They go to the United States. Shatta Wale just does it when he wants to. He loves Ghana. Why is it that Wizkid is able to fill his O2 Arena, but not able to fill the sports stadium in Accra?
Well, with this, I mean, this particular show is specific. So, I mean...
Oh, okay. Because he's so popular in Ghana.
Yeah, first of all, that show was introduced to the system, I think, 2 weeks to the concert before they started doing promo work, or I think 2 months or something like that.
But Shatta just gets up a day.
Because the Shatta Wale has a dedicated audience. If you can go to a concert and stand on your feet from 8 to 6, people go stand like from 8 to 6 and listen to Shatta Wale perform back to back. That is dedicated audience. So that is one thing that he has. Wizkid concert, first of all, the organizers, they just had money to throw around. No research, nothing. Once again, vibes and inshallah. They thought the money was there and they could just pull it off. And inshallah, they could just pull it off because it's Wizkid. Now, Wizkid is big. Wizkid's concert that he organized in the States, or people they organize for him. Sometimes a year to your concert, and will come drop links to go buy tickets.
Yeah.
They prepare.
In the UK and the US, yeah.
They prepare. You can't just come and do 2 months.
They even do it like 6, 7 months.
Exactly. Burna Boy, you see Burna Boy. If Burna Boy is going to have a show in December right now, they have started.
If you're on Wiyala.
Exactly. Yeah. You can't just wake up and just come down. We are Wizkid, so people. And you see, that is the problem. They don't put any effort into anything because they feel like they can just put money into.
They just do vibes and.
Inshallah, once again, which is sad because the Wizkid show. You see, that was the show that was supposed to open December in Ghana. It was pathetic. Your man didn't show up. The follow back people too no show up. A lot of things happened. So with Wizkid, I feel like Wizkid go fit do him. If he wants to fill the stadium,
he go more than do him.
He go fit do him. But then it takes preparation, research, a lot of things.
So from what Kojo is saying, the organizers of the show feel, because I know that for publicity we were here, we did a lot, and you even did your department did a lot of work across the platforms. For that, is it the rate? Is it the targets, markets? Because Wizkid is a mass market artist.
I think there were a lot of things that kind of happened in relation to this particular show. One of them, yes, had to do with the rates, right? Even though Wizkid is that big and people would put in their money to see him, we were also living at a certain time when there was a bit of instability in people's financial, standings. Yeah. People were having a bit of up and down. Well, not really any up, to be honest. A lot of downs with their money, and it just means that a lot of people were more circumspect with where they put their money at. That does not take away from the fact that Wizkid is big and people would like to see him. It also is just around some of the pairings that was being done, right? There has to be, there's a bit of craziness when it comes to organizing events. Events is, everybody sits out and they're like, oh God, this is so easy, I could do it. But there has to be some specific way that you pair people for everybody to feel like, okay, I can come to it. When you look at the Live Hub event, when you look at the whole scope of everything that happened on that day, there was quite a lot of people, but they kept passing in and out. So people come, some will leave, people come, some will leave throughout the whole thing. So it's quite sad that Wizkid was unable to make it. I mean, he cited his own reasons. There's also been a lot of reverts, if I should call that, that from the organizers themselves that have also come out to explain their stand and say that they did everything right. We've not heard much from Wizkid in relation to that. We've not heard much from anybody.
He issued a statement.
But I think the issue is still going on between them. I'm sure they will find a solution. And eventually, the event space recovered. The event space recovered. There was the show by King Promise that everybody thought, will fail to live up to promise. But it did quite well. Yeah. And then I think from there, things went up, Shatawale did his thing. It was a lovely period.
We had the global
Exactly. Also because of the
Citizen
Global
Festival.
Citizen is why people were judging the Wizkid show a bit more because it was right on the heels of that. So this was a show that had never been seen so perfectly executed in Ghana on that scale before. And then you are
Afro
happening
Nation.
right after that, right? So you're happening like you're the next biggest thing after Global Citizen. It's a bad position to be in. It's a really, because this is a big show, nobody had to pay for it. People were funding it. It was like a social cause. So they had the money, they had the time, they had the resources to do everything to a point that was so excellent. And then you are happening right after. It puts more, like, it just brings more eyeballs onto you. People are judging you a bit more. And that was also the bad position for them.
Kusena says that the event industry recovered. So that recovery, that was a good point of measure. Global flops, Wizkid, then the recovery came. Does it mean that if we have any of those top international artists, if it's Davido, Wizkid, they need to take a relook about who is organizing, etc., whether I can get people to fill up spaces? Because we're not like Londoners or in New York or somewhere where you post tickets 6 months and then you expect that you have to keep the publicity up going. So does it make it difficult for them?
I think the demographics are completely different. And when you go and live in London and you are from Africa, you want to reconnect to Africa at every given opportunity. And so that's the reason why they will pay 5 times what we pay here for jollof. And so they do miss African stuff. And so whenever they do get that opportunity, they would want to hop onto it.
But it doesn't happen often.
Yeah, and you also look at, disposable cash, minimum wage and all that. And so that...
I mean, we're broke people. I mean,
typically.
Largely.
Yeah.
Apart from the upper class.
Yeah, so, I mean, there are different aspects that you can look at. But I think that what the most important thing, one thing that maybe draws common between the two regions is planning. And organization is really, really important because the thing is, these artists have worked so hard to reach where they've reached, right? So Wizkid doesn't mind breaching your contract and paying a sum of money rather than performing in an empty stadium. Because for some, if you followed Wizkid, you'd realize that he's trolled other artists who were not able to fill stadiums in the past.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely one thing that he was never going to do, perform in front of a literally.
So it was
empty
deliberate he didn't perform?
I'm very certain. Because we heard that he rehearsed the night before, which I thought was even wrong. Because you're rehearsing when the show should have started, around 8 p.m. or 7 p.m. You're now rehearsing when people are taking their seat. People should even see your rehearsal. And so you're now testing your sound and all that when people are getting ready. It doesn't inspire confidence to even draw a lot more people into it. So I thought Wizkid was never going to perform in front of that. It would have been the end of him because I'm sure that, the culture, the troll culture in Nigeria is nothing like what we're seeing in Ghana. In Ghana, we're joking.
Yes.
Like, if he was to perform in front of an empty crowd, the Davido stands, Burna Boy, they would have never ever let go.
So they are all different packs of fans within the Nigerian population.
It's really wild.
And they troll each other.
Yeah, it's almost like what we're seeing for Shatawale and his fans. So Burna Boy's fans are that loyal. If Wizkid puts something, they're all under it and they're always fighting, challenging. This is very, very competitive there. I think Ghana is very calm. It's chill. We've seen some form of trolling and comparison to some degree, but not what we've seen from Nigeria. But I think that the theme and what we can perhaps learn from this December is the fact that event organizers have to take people serious a bit. There's a general lack of empathy when it comes to these concerts, and the overarching theme is that there is a lack of punctuality. There's a lack of organization, and there's also been issues of crowd control, even at a big events like Afro Nation, and to some extent the Black Star Line, where the crowds had to queue up for hours and all that. So it's a very thin line between a very calm concert and then disaster, and so that's something that we may have to look at going forward in terms of our crowd control, to be able to ensure that we have a lot of gates where people are coming in and all that. So I still think that there's a lot of work to be done. when it comes to our December parties and concerts and all that. We don't have to wait for something bad to happen, but we need to, event organizers have to take a lot of things serious, because there were a number of concerts where people had to come before. Now they were setting up stages, rehearsing and all that. Is not cool, because people pay for the money, so you have to give them the value for their money.
Yeah. And I heard from the organizers of Afro Nation. It used to be Afrochella, then for franchise.
Afrochella, I always tell people this. Afrochella, very different from Afro Nation.
Okay.
Afrochella
Are they not the same people?
No, Afrochella is now the one that's rebranded to Afro Future.
Yes, Afro Future.
Yes, Afro Nation is a different entity
So,
by, I think, Smith
okay.
and his
And they said they're going to come differently. Do we need to take some cues from what Kojo said about, prepping people's minds maybe 2 quarters, 6 months before the time, and then there has to be some continuous. Is it possible?
I think it's possible. Are you going to get a result that you need? I don't think that you would envision. I don't think so, because it comes back to what Oreko mentioned, right? There's a bit of disposable cash problem around you telling me that I should put, I don't know, for instance, 200 CDs, or the least they all charged this December was around 350 CDs average, right? For the least location.
That's what they charged?
Yeah. Yeah.
For the shows?
For the least.
Yes.
So this is not VIP, this is not VVIP.
Standing.
You pay like 250, 350 CDs there.
General.
So you want somebody to put their 350 CDs down into you for what, 6 months towards a show that possibly could get cancelled. That possibly the main artist might
people
not show.
do that for Uncle Ebo White and all that.
Uncle Ebo White has consistently done his job. He's consistently showed up. He's consistently excited them. Like, there's never been any Uncle Ebo White that you go for that you not feel like you've been to an Uncle Ebo White. And they always
starts on time.
Exactly. So there's some sort of like thoughts behind them. And then there's a security issue. To ask people to put their money down for that long-term period, a bit tricky when it comes to the Ghana space. Also, just to piggyback on what you mentioned around the organizer, I think one of the main things we never look at is the idea that we have a lot of spaces that are not for events, that we're always trying to make for events, right? So we don't have enough event spaces. Actually, we don't even have event spaces.
Any
event space to even take.
Looking at where we are now.
To take more than 20,000
the crowd that we were, okay.
Because I was at one of the shows. I don't like mentioning show names because it was like a personal attack to them. I was at one of the shows and I had like one of their VVIP or something tickets. I can't mention the name also because that would tell. And I had to join a queue. I had to join a queue with the regulars and then the next level before my level, right? And I had to pass through all those people to get to where it was supposed to be, like, the VVIP space. And I was thinking to myself, this does not make any sense. I have to go through a whole crowd. Literally, I was being smashed from every side.
And you are supposed to be a top range customer.
No. Exactly. And I'm a small person. I'm very tiny. Look, imagine this frame.
You mean you're skinny like me?
I'm even skinnier than you. Imagine this frame.
That's great credit.
Imagine this frame getting pushed around.
Yeah.
Like, literally, I got to some point I was like, I'm not doing this. I might as well just turn back and go home.
Right.
But I also felt like I had paid for it, so why not
Charlie,
go all the way?
we know that there was Global Citizen. It was successful.
It was
right?
a success.
Okay. All right. Right before then, I decided to put this at this point because the city tumbled. The city tumbled against the dollar, and people were expecting like people would come down. So a lot of people, diasporans, came to town earlier because then the thing started regaining. So the cash problem, how did it affect the mood for events and things like that?
I don't think it affected anything. Yeah. See, me, I was shocked though. I was like, we did.
You were surprised?
We did this country, they complain.
Vibes and inshallah.
You see, money no day. And people are buying 500 Ghana cedis tickets.
Yeah, hey. But that be easily gone, people.
No, that's not easily gone. No.
Game Boys Day Town, they did Ashaba.
No. You see, no.
They did Nima,
I don't think
Sukura, they did Fadama.
I feel like people complain, but when it comes to enjoyment, they will put their money on the table. And that is why I don't trust Ghanaians. Me, I'm not going to join anyone to say the system is hard again. Because these people will pass your back and go and be paying 500, 600 for concert. the CD thing didn't affect anything.
But man cannot live by bread alone.
That is the point here is, hey, people will come on social media, hey, they meet the crab on me. Then, when King Promise concert, people said, oh, we have cancelled King Promise. We are person will come lead the bandwagon, say then cancel, and then you get 4 tickets. How can you tell me this story? These people, you can't trust them. And so that's the thing. Me, I don't think the CD, I knew said they were coming to melt $100 and, you know, just take our girls away and things. But it didn't happen. But then they jammed. People were jamming from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m.
There was this particular one I had up to the morning.
Yeah. People did.
There's a place, a new place I'm talking.
Enjoyment country.
Not particular one.
Everywhere.
Almost everything happens till the morning in Ghana. It's
6 a.m. or...
Don't go and jam and
depends.
see.
I mean,
people bought drinks, alcohol, you know, all the enjoyment stuff. So we are not, that Adudi go see the video, right? You know Adudi has a Snapchat account. Adudi just will be watching the city and say, fellow Ghanaians, these people are not broke, tax them.
goodness.
Because you people can't tell me this story. How are you people complaining about E-levy and people are jamming like this?
No, but the reality is that there's a big segment of the population that don't have.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
there is,
that one, yeah.
and that big segment will still save enough to go for what they really feel.
The Shatawale ones, the 5 CD
I always tell people there's a
So they are worried about e-levy. They are worried about the dollar, the CD tumbling against the dollar, but they'll save their last and go and watch a concert.
And you'll be with Diana.
Exactly. That's one of the beautiful things about Ghanaians. Like, there's a lot of disjoint when you look at all the sentiments that are shared online in social media spaces and use that to judge what will happen on ground. You would be very surprised. Because people say a lot of things. People really like, oh no, we will not do this. Like, you know, they're like, and even in the political side, you see a lot of these demonstrations. They get a lot of people following them. When it comes to the ground, they'll just be there, placards, and we are gone. You see, the energy kind of shifts. Ghanaians naturally have like the whole Yebewunti and that kind of thing, or Famanyami kind of relation to certain things, right? So, new e-levy, reduced it, okay, we'll find ways to live with it. New income tax bracket, okay, we'll find ways to live with it. New tax level, okay, we'll find ways to live with it. It's generational. It's also been culturally part of the Ghanaian system, where it's a small spike in discontent, we make noise, and then we find ways to live with it. It's the opposite what you see in Nigeria. They will find ways to live with it, but
it will be there with them.
They will keep pushing it in your face. They will keep fighting it all the time. And then they will find ways around it, yes, but they will keep pushing it until something is changed to satisfy them. So there's that sort of slight disconnect between what the social media trends are saying and then what is actually happening. The King Promise thing was a very good example.
Me say don't trust Twitter people.
Yeah, I remember you guys came to sit here with Sadiq.
Yeah.
Don't trust them. Social media people.
The e-levy thing was also, because that trended a lot when it was passed. Everybody said, "Oh, we will not pay. We will not pay."
But we're paying.
People are still transferring Momo, and they are paying.
Yeah,
It's not upper class.
Everyone.
I remember the woman I buy eggs from. When I go and buy like even eggs 5 cedis, she want me to add
charges
50 pesos. That's charges regular.
Yeah.
Now she'll tell me I should make it 50, some 65 pesos because of e-levy. Recently, she doesn't even care anymore. She's okay to absorb the e-levy.
No, but they're not getting the targets.
No,
so the numbers have reduced.
Oh, the numbers have reduced.
We have to be.
But when you see the noise, when you see
it's not commensurate to the way you expect the boycott.
If 80% of the people online are saying we are not going to send money anymore, and then you come on and about 50% are still sending money.
But 80% of people online are not 80% of Ghanaians.
That's very true, but it's a good representation, right? It's a very good representation.